So it is my distinguished pleasure to introduce someone who has survived some of the things that Dr. Haber's talking about and the horrible things that can happen when one is experiencing heart disease. I was going to read you quite a bit about the story, but I don't think there's anything better than the person telling the story themselves. So please welcome Yaz.
Hello, good evening. It's really my privilege to be here tonight with you, to share with you what would be the first time I'm sharing my story, and why heart disease is so near and dear to my heart. I was 35 years old a couple of years ago, sitting at my desk, not unlike many of you. And out of nowhere, I felt my left leg begin to cramp. I got up, tried to walk it off, sat back down again. And about an hour later, slowly started to realize something strange was happening to my leg. It was starting to look a little purple. Again, I didn't think the sky was falling. You're young, you're healthy, you're fit, you take care of yourself, you certainly don't anticipate the worst. So I drove over to my family doctor. At that point, my leg had gotten a little bit more swollen, and the cramping had gotten a touch worse. And he told me to get to the hospital right away. I guess it was about 2 hours from beginning to that moment, and by the time I got to the hospital, I was getting pretty busy. And I was just barely making it into emergency. I was very fortunate. They admitted me right away, gave me an ultrasound, and that's where I got the news that I had massive blood clots in my left leg, and massive blood clots in my right leg, and some pretty nasty clots in my abdomen as well. And I was told they were life-threatening. So I suppose one day you're 35 and you think the world is your oyster, and the next day you're wondering whether you're going to make it through the night. And that's the news that was delivered to me that evening. I was told I'd be given a CAT scan to further investigate, and I'd have to go into surgery right away. That night was a strange night in my life. I didn't want to close my eyes. I didn't want to fall asleep because I thought that might be it. I even took out my cell phone and told myself I should put my will on there just in case. So it was one of those nights, as they say. When they did this CAT scan, the doctor came to see me, and as if the blood clots weren't enough, I was told that I also had a congenital heart defect, and that my main highway to my heart, which is called the inferior vena cava, had been blocked off since my birth, and that I was lucky to be alive, and that is what likely started off this cascade of clotting in my body. So I'd have to have surgery for that as well. So an hour later, I was under the knife, so to speak, and I did 2 surgeries, 5 hours each. I was awake for both. I remember most of it, most of what I want to remember. And as Dr. Hayward eloquently explained, they did use some of those clot-busting drugs on me. And I was very lucky. Those clot-busting drugs did what they're supposed to do, and they dissolved those clots, and there weren't any complications, so I made a full recovery from those blood clots, and The surgeon was also able to do a very successful angioplasty and open up my vein as well to my heart. And so after 35 years, they were able to fix something that had been wrong for a very long time. I made a full recovery after that fateful weekend in the hospital. It was a year later that I was to discover that the clot-busting drugs that helped to save my life were pioneered because of the Heart and Stroke Foundation and the advocacy efforts made by the foundation to get those kinds of drugs available to the Canadian public. I suppose that made an impression, and that was to begin a new journey in my life where I decided to perhaps try and join the foundation and put my internet expertise to work trying to help people find health information. And I now manage the foundation's websites nationally. It is truly hard to put into words after you've survived something such that I have, how meaningful that can be and how important it becomes to live your life and give back. And how truly appreciative I am to the donors, the volunteers, people like yourselves who support this great cause. If it wasn't for what I'd experienced, some of this sounds cliche, but it is because of the generosity of people like yourselves across this country, across this province, that we have the research in place that saves lives every day. So from the bottom of this heart, this evening, I would very much like to thank all of you, both for your support this evening, as well as Fortinos' support of the Heart and Stroke Foundation in the last quarter century. It truly makes a difference in all of our lives, and it certainly did in mine. So thank you so very much.